recently Warren Buffett announced he's going to retire. And like for many of us, this coming announcement has freed him up to be a little more open about some things that are important to you and I. And so in today's video, I want to share what those items are. The first one I want to talk about is the trade war and the potential impact on the economy. This is an article according to Quartz, says Warren Buffett breaks his silence on tariffs. Okay. Buffett, who until now has stayed silent on the Trump tariffs, added that trade has led to bad things in attitudes it's brought out in the U.S. Buffett is quoted as saying, "I do not think it's a great idea to try and design a world where a few countries say, ha, 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 we've won, and other countries are envious," he said, adding that the U.S. should be looking to trade with the rest of the world. For President Trump's defense on this, he has said that what he's looking for is what Trump considers to be a fair trade balance. And Buffett goes on to say that there's no question that trade can be an act of war. Okay, so that's breaking his silence. The first item is just a caution for the trade war. And we're not out of it yet. As I record this, the stock market has recovered most of what it lost after April 2nd, Trump's Liberation Day. Market went down pretty steeply, but fortunately since then the market has come back up. But I don't think we're out of the woods yet. Warren Buffett also opened up about something else. This is according to the Economic Times. Warren Buffett breaks hearts in silence, reveals the deeply personal reason behind his emotional exit from Berkshire Hathaway. Now, part of this is Warren Buffett as an investor, but the other part is Warren Buffett as an individual and what he has to say about protecting our health and the decision on when to retire. So let's see what the Economic Times has to say. Buffett told the Wall Street Journal in an interview, "I didn't really start getting old for some strange reason until I was about 90. But when you start getting old, it does become irreversible." Signs that told him it was time. Buffett also shared heartbreaking moments such as losing balance, forgetting names, and not being able to clearly read newspapers, reported the Daily Mail. Now, we're going to go to the Wall Street Journal and see exactly what he said. But in Buffett's case, he didn't think he started feeling old until he was 90. And, for some of us, when we're 60 years old, maybe we can depend on 30 years of good health. Warren Buffett is 94 as I record this. I don't think many of us can plan on that. Some of us can. But unfortunately, at 60 years old, most of us, I think, are going to have about 1,000 weeks, 20 years of healthy, active time remaining. Now, 1,000 weeks is not much time, so we want to guard each and every one of these. So let's go more into what Warren Buffett was talking about, his health and retirement. Let's go to that original article by the Wall Street Journal. Warren Buffett reveals that he stepped down after feeling his age. Buffett said there was no magic moment. Buffett is now 94. How do you know the day that you become old? That's a really good question, right? We only know it in hindsight. But the challenge is we have to view, when's the right time for each of us to retire? We have to think about that likely, hopefully, while we're still healthy. Now, there are a lot of people in the United States that work until their health forces them to retire. And, if you need the money, it's important that we know how much money we need to retire. And if you don't have enough money to retire, yes, you want to have that financial security, and it's a deeply personal decision. Do you keep working until you lose your health? Or do you say, maybe, what I have is enough? Let's go back to some more words by Warren Buffett. This is a quote: "The difference in energy level and just how much he," speaking of Abel, the person that's going to be taking over for Buffett, "how much Abel could accomplish in a 10-hour day compared to what I could accomplish in a 10-hour day. The difference became more and more dramatic." And that's just a reality for all of us as we age. So, what is the right time for each of us to retire? That's a deeply personal decision. Having been a financial advisor for over 20 years, I can share with you some things to put on your radar screen. And the first one is to have a plan. to make sure that you know, do you have enough money to retire? How much money can you plan to spend on in retirement? And maybe even to test drive that budget to make sure it feels comfortable to you, because if it doesn't feel comfortable, it's again, this is a personal decision. None of what I'm sharing is financial advice. But if your budget doesn't feel comfortable, you may want to think about working a few more years so that you can save more money and have a larger budget. So one is have a plan. I think the gold standard for that is to work with a fiduciary financial advisor. I do know there's a lot of people in my audience that are never going to do that. And if that's you, I urge you to use professional software designed to help you go through that process and to come up with a good plan, as opposed to using Google Sheets or Excel. It takes a lot of time to build a model that way. It's super easy to forget something. And frankly, it's easy to make a formula mistake, and you want to have confidence. The software I like is called Bolden. It used to be called New Retirement. You can get it at this link here. Just scan the QR code. Super affordable. As I record this, it's about $120 a year. I am an affiliate. This video is not sponsored, but if you use this code here, you will be supporting the channel. Okay, so that's point number two is you want to have a plan. You want to be confident. You want to test drive that, and you also want to take your health into consideration. So get a good physical and know where you are now. Now, there can always be surprises. Getting a good physical is a good thing to do, but it's obviously it's not going to answer all the questions. One of the questions I used to ask my doctor when I was in my early 50s is I told him, I want to have at least 10 healthy, active years in retirement. So keep that in mind as you're looking at my test results, and give me any information that might cause me to think differently about when I'm planning to retire. And then the other thing is, just to ask yourself, are you trying to optimize on your bank account, or are you trying to optimize on your life? Now, the challenge with our bank accounts, our investment accounts, is it's super easy to measure. And uh, just because it's easy to measure doesn't mean it should be the most important aspect. It's super important, but it not necessarily for most of us the most important. I would argue our health is. Uh, and so balance those two things out. If you're struggling with this, a good book to consider is a book called Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. It's super helpful for you to be thinking about when can you get the most joy out of the money that you're going to be spending, because too many people save up money, into their um, for their mid 80s and their 90s, and we need money there. But if you're thinking you're going to do an adventure in the Himalayas at 90, few of us get to do that. So think about that, and also think about, the memories. What are the things that are important? If you could take the vantage point of somebody that's 80 or 85 years old and looking back and say, what are the things I might regret that I didn't do in my 50s, that I didn't do in my 60s? I think many of us will benefit from that. If you like this video, the YouTube algorithm says this is the next video of mine specifically for you that you should watch next. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.